You're 16, out in the driveway with a wrench. You are draining the oil from the family pickup. The quick lube wanted $89.99. You grabbed a phone tutorial and did it yourself. 2 decades later, you sign the closing papers. You sell the whole operation for $6 million. Between those 2 mornings sits an entire repair trade. It is worth more than $5 billion a year, and it still cannot find enough people to run it. The trucks out there never stop breaking down. The people who can actually fix them keep vanishing. They keep getting rarer and harder to replace. So the man who fixes them the fastest wins. Somewhere along the way, he stops being a mechanic. He becomes the one who owns the trucks instead. This is every level of fixing America's diesels. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The driveway. You're 16, with no real job yet. The family pickup needs an oil change. The quick lube wants $89.99. That is 20 minutes of easy work. You watch a video on it instead. You warm the engine up first. You roll the truck up onto steel ramps. You slide a creeper underneath the front end. You set a cheap drain pan under the plug. You crack the drain plug loose by hand. The oil comes out black and hot. It smells like an old gas station. You spin the filter off with a strap wrench. You wipe fresh oil on the new gasket. You thread the new filter back by hand. You refill the engine to the dipstick line. You run it and listen for a second. You crawl under and check for leaks. Nothing drips onto the clean cardboard. Your tools are a Harbor Freight socket set. Your only drill is a borrowed DeWalt. You rotate the tires with a cross wrench. You pull each lug nut off the garage floor. You torque the plug by feel alone. Nobody has taught you a real number yet. The first time, you do the brakes. The truck stops dead straight on the road. Your dad lets you do his truck next. You skip the strap wrench one time. You round the edge of the old filter. You learn to crack it cold after that. You jump a dead battery in the cold. You bleed a soft, sticky brake line. You swap a serpentine belt off a phone screen. None of this work pays you anything. The real win is the money you did not spend. You stop paying for oil changes for good. Then the driveway goes quiet again. You rinse the drain pan and keep it. What you are learning here is not theory. It is sequence, and torque feel, and patience. It is the discipline not to strip a bolt. One stripped bolt turns a free job into a toe. The skill is small, but it is real. You can feel your own hands getting smarter. And it is finally enough to earn a paycheck. Soon, someone will pay you to do this. The next bolt you turn is on the clock. That is where the lube rack begins. Level 2. The lube rack. You're 18 and the fleet shop hires you on. They pay you $18 an hour to grease trucks. Entry diesel work starts low, and you start lower. The whole job is preventive maintenance. They call it PM service, the bread and butter. A fleet truck rolls into your bay. You pull its DVIR, the driver's defect list. You read down every defect the driver logged. You drain 15 gallons of black oil out. You swap the fuel and water separators. You hit every grease zerk on the chassis. You work a grease gun until each fitting takes. You measure the brake stroke at every wheel. You check the tread depth with a gauge. You load test the battery on a cart. You air up and torque the wheels to spec. Then you road test it around the block. Then you write the whole service up. Your first toolbox is a serious expense. On a payment plan, it runs $3,000 to $5,000. It is a snap-on box you cannot really afford. The chrome drawers shine more than your car. You chase air leaks with soapy water. You spray the lines and watch for bubbles. The shop scanner sits over on a cart. Nobody trusts you on the scanner yet. The quick lube down the road still charges. It is the same $89.99. You clear your hourly wage doing harder work. You catch a cracked frame rail nobody flagged. The foreman stops calling you the new kid. A senior tech crouches beside you at a wheel. He shows you how to set brake stroke right. He sets it at 80 to 90 psi. You set it his way from then on. It holds clean through the next inspection. He never shows you anything again he does not have to show you twice. You sit for your very first certification. It is the ASE Test T8. That is the preventative maintenance inspection. You pass it on the first try. You stop asking where the zerks are hidden. The rack is the same height every morning. You learn real speed without any shortcuts. You move through a service fast and clean. You never leave a loose plug behind you, but the customer's invoice dwarfs your hourly cut. The only fix is to go where the truck can't come. Level 3. The road call. You're 22, and the median tech wage is set. It is $36.50 an hour. You make that, plus a premium on top, because now you drive out to the truck. A fleet does not pay for the repair itself. It pays to stop a parked truck bleeding money. So the same hour bills higher on the shoulder. The shoulder call bills far above the bay. You still take home your $36.50. You roll out in a service van. It carries a scanner, a laptop, and onboard air. Dispatch sends you to a dead no start. It is a gravel yard at 2 in the morning. You stage the truck and drop your cones. You plug the scanner into the 9-pin port. You pull the codes and start isolating. Air, fuel, electrical, aftertreatment. You force a regen to clear the aftertreatment. You reseat a blown glad hand on the line. You swap a starter up on jack stands. The glad hand hisses when it finally seats. The air pressure comes up at last. You thaw a frozen exhaust fluid line. You hit it with a heat gun until it flows. You get the truck legal enough to limp. Then comes a reefer load on the clock. And a fault you have never seen before. The codes do not point anywhere clean. You miss a chafed air line in the dark. The truck dumps its brakes on the ramp. You crawl back under it in the rain. You find it on the second pass. A rub spot the size of a thumbnail. You splice the line back together. You charge the system and watch the gauges. The needles climb and finally hold. The reefer rolls before the load turns. You clear the codes and verify the fix. Then you bill the call out. Run a truck with a known defect. And the carrier eats a federal fine. That is why they call you at this hour, instead of risking it on the road. Downtime, not labor, is the real cost. That is what the customer pays to kill. More than half of these shops run short. 57% are understaffed right now. That comes from the Full Bay Industry Survey. It polled nearly 900 professionals. George Arentz runs the ASE Education Foundation. He says the shortage is only as bad as you let it. The shortage is not a sob story at all. It is leverage, plain and simple. You sleep with the dispatch phone face up. It sits glowing on the nightstand. Then the radio finally goes quiet. You get trusted to roll out solo. No senior tech rides along anymore. Out here there is no lift. There is no parts shelf either. Just you, a headlamp, and the van. You decide in the dark if it moves tonight. The real skill is triage under pressure. Anyone can read a code on a screen. Reading codes is free. Rewriting them is next. Level 4. The Diagnostician. You're 28, and the top pay finally appears. Top decile diesel pay runs past $80,850 a year. You earn it by owning the hard faults. You clear the ones nobody else can. A modern truck throws hundreds of fault codes. They spread across dozens of control modules. Most of those codes are just noise. The real fault is a single wire. It is your job to find it. You verify the driver's complaint first. You run a full vehicle scan. You pull freeze frame and live data. You trace the wiring diagram by hand. You test the one suspect component. You check your own work twice. Half the time the part is fine. The calibration is what is actually wrong. So you reflash the engine yourself. You run the OEM software you pay for. The dealer charges $400 to $900 to flash one. You do it right in your bay now. You do it, and you keep the job. That capability is the whole moat. It lets you charge real dealer rates. Then comes the one the codes won't hand you. A drivability fault with nothing stored. You stop reaching for new parts. You read the wiring diagram instead. The whole fault is a chafed harness. It rubbed through against a bracket. You pin it down and repair it. You road verify the fix runs clean. The truck idles quiet at last. First time it has run right in weeks. You run injector trims and a cylinder cutout. You chase a leak with a smoke machine. You read the signal with a scope. Your certs stack up over the years. You reach ASE Master Medium Heavy Truck. That is tests T2 through T8. The electrical one is the brutal test. It passes only about 30% who sit it. You are one who finally passed. The country needs these techs badly. Now Tech Force counts 152,000 more. It cannot train them fast enough. Peter Cooper runs a consulting firm. He says they leave for $1 raise. So a hard-to-replace tech sets his own price. You stop reaching for the parts cannon. The bay is the same bay it always was. You're the most expensive hour in the building. That is when you do the math on owning it. Because the ceiling on a wrench is real. The only way past it is to stop holding it. Level 5. The owner-operator. You're 35 and you file the paperwork. You sign and the business is finally yours. You set the rate now, not the boss. In the shop, it is $149 an hour and $160 out on the road. You outfit a first service truck. It gets a crane body and a parts bin. It gets onboard air, just like before. You land your first fleet contract. You set the PM intervals and the rate. You schedule the routes across the week. You staff the trucks every morning. You stock the trucks before they roll. You bill the contract every single month. Fleets favor shops that code in VMRS. So you code every job that way. You run dispatch software all day long. The phone never fully stops ringing. You qualify your own brake inspectors. That takes a year of brake training each. You set the rate and stock it right. The fleet signs the contract with you. And then the fleet renews it again. Most owners pay themselves nothing at first. 31% take home zero early on. Payroll always comes first. Every time. You come dead last. Every single month. The first month, payroll clears clean. And you never turned a wrench to do it. You stop turning wrenches at all. A man named Kevin Clark did this bigger. He scaled an emergency mobile service. He built a tech academy inside a giant. It ran as Fleet Services by Cox. You run the same playbook, only smaller. The job stops being repair at all. It becomes uptime, sold by the month. The phone rings and you let it. You let a tech take the call instead. You buy a second truck, then a third. You stencil your own name on the doors. The hardest thing is not a fault code. It is turning two hands into a system that runs without you under it. You're not the cavalry anymore. Now you send the cavalry out. And the operation runs without you in it. That is when someone offers to buy it. Level 6. The exit. You're in your 40s now, running the whole thing. You run a regional mobile repair operation. There are a dozen plus trucks, everyone yours. You hold contracts with national carriers, a deep bench of certified techs. The mobile trade is fragmented and unglamorous, and it is exactly what big capital wants. Recurring maintenance contracts are an annuity. A one-van guy is a line in a pipeline. Businesses like yours sell for a solid earnings multiple. They go for 2 to 3 times earnings. For an operation your size, that is real money. That works out to about $6 million. You clean up the financials first. You quietly field an inbound corporate acquirer. You sit down and sign a letter of intent. Diligence walks your trucks one by one. It walks your contracts and your techs. You open the books completely clean. The diligence finds nothing to choke on. You sign, and the whole operation transfers over. It runs owner absent, exactly as designed. The buyer isn't paying for torque skill. He is paying for the contracts and roster. That is the whole game, said plainly. They buy what runs without you. The biggest version of this is real. A company called Dickinson Fleet Services did it. It grew past 700 mobile trucks and more than 800 working techs. Then Cox Automotive bought the whole thing. Its co-founder Ted Coltrane put it simply. He founded it nearly 30 years back. He never imagined the leader it became. You finally stop signing the checks yourself. The lot is full of trucks now. And none of them need you anymore. Your name has been on those doors for years. The morning it closes, you walk the lot. You pass a dozen trucks lined up. They all started as one kid on a driveway. With a borrowed drill and a cheap drain pan. You sign your name one last time, the trucks pull out as someone else's. But what they paid for was never the trucks. Here's the part nobody tells you about this climb. The man at the very top doesn't fix trucks. He stopped touching them entirely years ago. The most valuable thing he learned was not a torque spec. It was not a fault code either. It was how to hire the people who turn the wrenches, and it was how to keep them on the bench. The shortage that made the job feel thankless early on. It is the same shortage that made the business sellable. A fragmented trade full of one-van operators is an annuity. It is an annuity just waiting to be rolled up. Every kid draining oil in a driveway is a future line. He is a future line in someone's acquisition pipeline. Right now, somewhere, a teenager is on a driveway. He is draining oil to save $89.99. He honestly thinks that he is saving money. He is starting a whole career and doesn't know it yet. The drain pen you bought for that first job remains. It sits on the shelf behind your desk, dented and clean. You kept it through every truck and every single move. The trucks out there are all someone else's now, but the dented pan is still entirely yours. Your knuckles don't fully close in the cold anymore. That is exactly what the long climb cost you. And knowing all of it, you would pay it again. The kid in your old bay earns the wage you started on. He is under a truck you yourself used to be under. He is learning the same sequence that you once learned. What looked impossible from the driveway looks routine from the office. You climbed every single rung of this ladder. Driveway, then lube-rack, then the road call, then diagnostician, then owner, and then founder. Each one looked like the whole job while you stood on it, but none of them ever really was. The shop keys hang on the hook by the door. The deal is finally signed and completely done, and that dented drain pan sits there on the shelf. It sits right where you can always see it. It is yours now, free and clear.